The boats that cross oceans almost never look like the ones that draw crowds at boat shows, and there is a very good reason for that. The first thing experienced sailors evaluate in a boat is whether it was built as an engineering product or a marketing product. Most modern production sailboats are designed to impress buyers at boat shows. Wide panoramic windows, open-plan salons, shallow keels that promise access to any marina. These features look appealing on paper, but an experienced sailor sees a different picture. Panoramic windows are structural weak points in heavy weather. Open-plan salons leave nothing to hold on to when the boat heels. Shallow keels reduce windward performance and compromise stability in waves. At a marina walk in Florida or the Annapolis Boat Show, these boats draw crowds. But in the middle of the ocean, on a passage toward Bermuda or during a long offshore crossing, you rarely see them. Out there, you find different boats. Heavier, more modest, perhaps unremarkable from the outside, but carrying calculated engineering in every bolt and laminate layer. The most fundamental element of that engineering is hull design and how the boat relates to the sea. Sailors call this quality seakindliness, meaning how a boat moves through waves. A light displacement, flat-bottomed hull skips over wave crests and slams into each one, sending a shock wave through the entire structure. This motion, known as slamming, physically exhausts the crew within hours. By contrast, a heavy displacement hull with a deep keel cuts through waves rather than bouncing over them. The motion is slower, more predictable, and far gentler. Boats like Pacific Seacraft and Island Packet earn their respect among experienced sailors precisely for this quality. They do not fight the waves. They move with them. The Ted Brewer Comfort Ratio is a numerical expression of this motion. Values above 30 indicate that a boat moves with less violent motion in a seaway. Experienced sailors care about this number far more than the number of sleeping cabins listed in a broker's advertisement. In the autumn storms off New England, or the long ocean swells of the Pacific Northwest, this ratio directly determines how much energy the crew retains over a multi-day passage. Beyond hull design, build quality is the area where experienced sailors become most meticulous. The details discussed here are things a casual boat buyer has probably never considered. The method used to join the hull and deck is at the top of this list. In cheaper production boats, this joint relies solely on chemical adhesive. Experienced sailors look for joints that are through-bolted with stainless steel fasteners every 4 to 6 inches, or fully encapsulated with fiberglass tabbing. Hallberg-Rassy is one of the brands that set the industry standard in this area. They fully bond the hull and deck with fiberglass, and then apply a stainless steel rubbing strake over the joint. Another critical detail is how the bulkheads are attached to the hull. Bulkheads form the internal skeleton of the boat. If they are not fully glassed into the hull, the boat will begin to flex in heavy seas. Over time, this flexing leads to creaking, misaligned doors, and eventually structural weakness. Encapsulated keel design is another feature experienced sailors specifically seek out. In this construction, the ballast is molded directly into the hull, eliminating the risk of keel bolt corrosion and the catastrophic possibility of the keel separating from the hull. In an online sailing forum, a sailor described how his boat's keel detached at the marina due to years of undetected bolt corrosion. The overwhelming response from the community echoed the same thought. If that had happened at sea, the boat could have inverted in 30 seconds. One of the first hatches an experienced sailor opens when inspecting a boat is the engine compartment. The reason is simple. When a fuel filter clogs or a raw water pump fails in the middle of the ocean, you need to be able to reach that engine. In many modern production boats, the engine is crammed beneath a berth cabin. Changing a hose requires removing 3 panels, lifting the mattress, and contorting into positions that test your flexibility. One of the reasons Hallberg-Rassy earns such loyalty is their engine rooms, which are large enough to almost stand inside. Similarly, Amel boats integrate all mechanical and electrical systems into a centralized, factory-documented plan. An Amel owner dealing with a fault can contact the factory directly and trace every wire to its source. This accessibility might seem like a convenience at the dock, but on a 2,000-mile open ocean passage from the California coast to Hawaii, where there is no mechanic, this accessibility saves lives. A seasoned sailor once summarized it this way in a forum discussion: "The sails always work, but you need the engine to get into port." That is why the first thing I look at when buying a boat is always the engine and how easily I can get to it. When it comes to sail handling, experienced sailors show clear preferences shaped by practical offshore experience. For ocean passages, the cutter rig is the most respected configuration. A cutter rig carries two headsails forward of the mast, a large genoa on the outer forestay and a smaller staysail on an inner stay. When the wind builds, the genoa is furled and the boat continues under the smaller staysail alone. This reduces sail area while keeping the center of effort close to the mast, which eases helm pressure and improves balance. The ketch rig also has strong advocates among experienced cruising sailors. This two-masted configuration divides the total sail area into smaller, more manageable pieces. For couples sailing short-handed on long passages, this is a significant advantage. Amel's consistent choice of the ketch rig reflects exactly this philosophy. A single person can control all sails from the cockpit. The furling system debate is another topic frequently discussed in sailing communities. In-mast furling offers convenience but carries a risk of jamming in strong winds. A significant number of experienced sailors still prefer traditional slab reefing. The reason is that it is mechanically simple, unlikely to fail, and repairable at sea with basic tools. Cockpit design is another area experienced sailors never overlook when choosing a boat. The center cockpit configuration keeps the crew higher above the waterline, away from following seas and ocean spray that would flood an aft cockpit. Models from Hallberg-Rassy and Hylas that feature this layout make a substantial difference in crew endurance during long watches. The hard Dodger is the second pillar of this protection. The fixed glass windscreen that has become a Hallberg-Rassy signature shields the helmsman from wind and spray. When a Hallberg-Rassy 46 owner shared in a forum how he stood watch for 14 hours and 45 knots of wind in the Bay of Biscay and stayed completely dry behind his windscreen. The response that followed was striking. On my boat with a canvas Dodger, I gave up after 2 hours. This is not merely a comfort issue. Fatigue is one of the leading causes of errors at sea. A cockpit that keeps the crew dry and protected contributes directly to safety. Every hour a helmsman can remain alert and comfortable is an hour where judgment stays sound and reactions stay sharp. Certain boat brands and models have achieved near-legendary status among experienced sailors over the decades. This respect was not built through advertising campaigns, but through proven performance at sea. Hallberg-Rassy represents the precision of Swedish engineering and Scandinavian build integrity. The French builder Amel offers an integrated passage-making system optimized for ocean crossings. The story of an American couple in their 70s, completing a 3-year circumnavigation aboard an Amel Super Maramu, demonstrates this philosophy in action. They controlled every sail electrically from the cockpit because their physical strength would not have allowed manual handling, but the Amel system made that unnecessary. Pacific Seacraft combines traditional craftsmanship with a gentle, sea-kindly motion that rewards patience over speed. The Valiant 40, drawn by Bob Perry, essentially invented the concept of the performance cruising sailboat. And then there is the Contessa 32, which carries perhaps the most powerful story of all. In the 1979 Fastnet race, hundreds of boats were caught in a severe storm. Numerous boats had to be abandoned, several were lost, and the race became one of the most sobering lessons in modern sailing history. Yet every single Contessa 32 finished the race. That remains one of the most compelling demonstrations of what a small but properly designed boat can endure. And that perspective is only earned by spending years where it matters most. On the water. In this video, we talked about what experienced sailors look for when choosing a boat, and perhaps more importantly, what they choose to ignore. We covered a wide range of topics, from hull design to keel construction, from engine accessibility to sail handling preferences, from cockpit ergonomics to the finer details of build quality. As we saw, for seasoned sailors, choosing a boat is not an aesthetic decision. It is an engineering evaluation. These people do not look at the color of the upholstery. They look at the hull deck joint. They do not measure the width of the salon. They check how the bulkheads are glassed into the hull. They do not prioritize marina comfort. They focus on how the boat will behave when the weather turns. And this way of thinking only becomes meaningful after spending real time at sea. If you enjoy this kind of technical, experience-based content, consider subscribing to the channel and giving this video a like. We would also appreciate it if you shared your own boat preferences, your sailing experiences, or any questions you might have in the comments below. That kind of conversation is valuable not just for us but for every sailor in this community. Until the next video, fair winds.